I understand that completely. All right, we got some big news with the Fort Dodge.
Yes, we do. Fort Dodge softball put 10 players on the All CIML team.
That's
you can only start 9. So the entire starting 9 plus 1 made the All CIML. They had 6 first-team selections, which were mostly veterans, but a couple of younger players. You had seniors in catcher TK Doster, she's going to need a little red wagon to pull all the hardware she's going to get by the end of the season. And then Sophia Klinger in center field, who also was first team. Shortstop Tori Bennett and pitcher Jalen Adams, who's another one who's going to need a wagon to haul all the hardware that she's going to have by the end of the season. Those 4 made it. You kind of expected that. Mm-hmm. 2 8th graders that really
just 8th graders
crazy, just busted on the scene this year.
Isn't that crazy?
And made it. Mariah Myers, who has been I expected a lot out of Mariah Myers from what I was told. She was hyped up. She's delivered on every expectation and then some. She's driven in 55 runs, which is 3 short of the single season school record as an 8th grader.
Whoa. She might break it as a 9th grader then.
She may break it in this tournament. Because she's still got a few, maybe a few games here in this tournament we're going to talk about in a minute.
That's
the other
wonderful.
8th grader was one that was kind of unexpected, and that would be Lucy Porter, who is Police Chief Roger Porter's
Rocket
daughter.
Roger, you bet.
And she has kind of emerged as the number 2 pitcher to Jalen Adams. Lucy actually went undefeated in her starts as a pitcher. I think 13
How old is
or
the Porter
14.
girl?
No, 8th grade.
She's an 8th grader.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I think Roger used to work with those girls. I think he was their coach when they were younger.
Yeah, I think so. I know there's a lot of different people that do the youth pride program, and they're very good at it. Lucy really came on and was really good this year in that role, and ended up really excelling in her opportunity, which I think was a little surprising to a lot of people in that regard. Not that she wasn't going to be a really good player, but it kind of happened before I think people expected it to happen a little early. Mariah Myers was hyped up, and she's a great prospect. She was kind of hyped up as that, and you expected kind of a little bit of what she's done, but she's been beyond expectations. So those 6 make the first team. The second team selections were Haley Wills at third base. Also, they had Maya Davis in right field and Martina Lowry at second base that all made the second team, and left fielder Chloe Wirtz got honorable mention. So they put 10 on the All CIML team. They won the CIML there, and that's a big part of why they had pretty much their whole team that was on the All CIML team.
I can't believe the way we're talking here today with 8th graders with this sort of out of the foot. We should have great softball for some years to come.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of fall off. You're going to have a transition year or two because you have a junior class that will graduate. That's a heavy junior class, 4 or 5 starters out of that group after next year. But you still got a lot of talent here, and you're not going to fall off far at all. And when the 8th grade class is sophomores, juniors, and seniors, you're going to be back to kind of where you are right now. I mean, you may not fall off at all.
By the way, we're going to brag on our boy here, Rob Jones, just a little bit, talk about all this talent. Rob Jones has been asked by our sister stations. Our group of stations here in Fort Dodge is owned by a group by the name of Alpha Media out of Portland, Oregon. But there are other Alpha Media stations like in Grinnell and Mason City, and those station groups have asked Rob Jones to contribute to their sports programs this year as we've headed into the playoffs, which is, I think, a tribute to you, Rob. I mean, they wouldn't just put anybody on the air.
Well, I appreciate that. I also like to think that gas is $3 a gallon, and that's part of the reason why they're using me, because I'm right here. So
and you don't sleep anyway,
and
so
I don't
might
sleep
as well
anyway, and I want to go to the tournament, so I might as well do the game while I'm at the tournament. So I'm going to go to the tournament anyway. So tonight I'm going to work for KGLO out of Mason City,
right,
and cover Central Springs tonight. Their guys Tim Fleming and Bob Fisher are already tied up with baseball with Mason City and Clear Lake tonight in the playoffs. And I talked to Tim while I was up there in Mason City for the baseball game on Friday night for Fort Dodge and Mason City baseball. And he kind of told me what kind of quandary he was in there. And he said, well, I might call you and see if you could do Monday for me for Central Springs for Monday evening. And I said, well, call me over the weekend if you need me. And so,
Tim's a good guy. I've met him a few times.
He is a really good guy.
He's been up there forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, he has. And I enjoy going up, and he's always really cordial. And him and Bob both very complimentary, very easy guys to work with. And so I was like, hey, if I can help them out, I will. And also, because who's to say that I may not have something up there and maybe I'm going to need those guys at some point. Sure. And it just made a lot of sense with me already being here. So I'm going to do that tonight. And then we're going to provide some coverage for possibly for Williamsburg on Wednesday in the semifinals.
Williamsburg has a radio station?
Well, no, Williamsburg would be out of the Grinnell office for us. So KGRN and Grinnell carries Williamsburg softball.
All right.
So, and they are a smaller group, so they're very limited with their staff and couldn't send their sports director because if they did, that would leave gaps in the building in terms of what they had covered. So,
well, that's the way it is in the 21st century, with radio stations. We used to have a much bigger staff for an AM and FM. I worked out on the other side of town here at KKZ and KWMG.
Yeah.
We had 3 people in the newsroom.
Oh, yeah.
3 people.
And then you had a sports director, too.
So we probably did.
It's safe to say I'm doing the work of like 3 or 4 people.
Oh, without a doubt you are. I came back here. I came by here on Sunday, and there was your car.
Of course it was.
What the hell are you doing here on Sunday?
Of course it was. So a friend of mine told me the other day, I said, they said something about a lunch break, and I said something, and they said, dude, you're perpetually on lunch break because you never really are off. You just like take a lunch break and then come back. Like whether that lunch break is 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, overnight, whatever it may be, that's perpetually kind of what you do. And I said, well, especially right now, this time of year. Now I'm going to take a little bit of time off when we get through this time of year. But
well, I'll tell you, I don't usually advocate for anybody looking at the Messenger. I don't think they have anything to say usually, but their sports department does. Eric over there is top flight sports guy, and Dana Becker, I've known him since he was a kid. He's also a top flight sports guy. But
Chris Johnson too. He's skilled.
I don't know him. I know the other 2
He's
guys.
Good dude too.
But I would ask you to open up the front page of the Messenger sports page and look at all those pretty girls that are just top athletes. Top athletes, and I've seen them play. And I am so impressed with women's sports. Somebody my age who remembers when we had 6-girl basketball and you had double dribble, you got to dribble twice, and you had a defensive team that couldn't go on the offensive side of the court. And of course, I came out of a generation and said, "Well, you run like a girl," And girls did run silly in those days, but they don't now. These women are athletes. These young girls are real athletes, and I'm very impressed. It's got me watching women's sports on TV, Rob. I don't know what's happening to me.
It's came a long way in not only with basketball but softball too, and a lot of it has to do with the training. Like women now,
yeah, that's exactly right.
They're doing speed training. They're doing all the things that the men do now, and that's kind of part of it now.
Well, I've always cussed Title IX. I've always cussed Title IX because that wiped out the baseball program at Iowa State. They couldn't keep. And I still wonder about that. But anyway, Title IX was given as a reason why Iowa State University dropped baseball.
Okay.
And I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah.
And I was ticked about Title IX. And Title IX has kind of been misused, I think, at times. But Title IX has also allowed, as you alluded to, young girls being trained as athletes should be trained. Right. And the result is these fine athletes that we have at Fort Dodge Senior High and at St. Edmund. I don't want to say we don't have them, and around the area. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm not nearly as ticked about Title IX as I used to be.
Yeah, I can see that now. A conversation for a whole nother day that we could go into would be that how Title IX is fixing to be warped against women's sports.
How so?
With gender identification.
Oh, now that's a whole different story, and that's foolish.
It is, but they're going to use Title IX to try to prop that up.
Sure,
I guarantee you they will.
And that's nothing but a freak.
And I've said, 100 times, look, I'm not trying to be discriminatory against anybody, But I've said 100 times, if we allow that across the board, it will be the death of women's sports.
Right. It's not discrimination. It is not discrimination to acknowledge basic biological fact that these people who want to play, I don't care what they want to identify themselves at. You want to be 60, like that woman's weightlifter from Australia, where it is. She's over 6'3" and bench presses 260, 70 pounds. I mean, all of a sudden she thinks she's a girl. Well, fine. But don't put her in the Olympics because that's unfair. That'll destroy young girls' sports. And I've seen, I'm a wrestling fan, as you know, a collegiate wrestling, folk style wrestling fan. I've seen very disturbing pictures of young girls getting their neck wrung off by transgender athletes, so-called girls who are obviously men.
Yeah.
I mean, they got makeup on, but they're ringing these poor girls.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that'll be the end of women's wrestling. And I got a granddaughter that wrestles.
Yeah.
And I
think it'll be the end of women's sports altogether if they let it go across the board.
Yeah.
Because what you'll have is and we've seen this already in women's college basketball. The conference player of the year for women's college basketball conference at the junior college level this year was a 6'8" dude. Like he was born biologically.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And he was a 6'8" guy that most likely couldn't really cut it as a man at the college
I guess
level.
we're so damn woke that we don't even understand what is what anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get it too.
I got to back off that. I want to celebrate these young women and their considerable accomplishments. And, we're talking about something, and I'm getting off it. But women's sports is really, as you and I have noted, are really coming into its own right now.
Yeah.
And I want to see it continue. I have never watched women's basketball, but I'm watching it now at the college and pro level.
It's come a long way. I've been watching it a long time.
I'll tell you, not surprisingly, the women aren't as tall, but they're as competitive, and they can't shoot 40-footers, maybe like Michael Jordan can or used to, but they're very talented athletes, and I enjoy their performance a lot. A friend of mine who's was on the ISU staff, him and his wife bought season tickets to women's basketball down there, and and apparently the sport is picking up popularity down there.
Yeah, and they're pretty good down there too.
I understand that. Yeah,
they're pretty good down there. And
so go girls.
Yeah, the game is the style of play in women's basketball has really changed, and it's better, easier to watch. More fluid than it used to be. All of that.
That's
kind
because
of stuff.
Of training.
Absolutely.
It's not some thing here, girls. Here's a ball, go play with it. They've actually had training and weight training, even in some cases.
Speed,
all of those
all that
things.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
And this is the result. This is what's happening in Fort Dodge with these girls. Eighth graders,
and I can testify to the fact that they do all of that. As a matter of fact, I had Coach Adams Saturday on my coach's show, and the team was lifting while she was there with me, and then I sent her to practice after that. She left and went to practice, and they were lifting at that time. So if they're lifting right now, right before the state tournament, they're lifting pretty much year round.
And they're well muscled, but without losing any femininity at all. Again, go to the Messenger front page, sports section, front page of the sports section. And these are very pretty girls, pretty girls, and they're lifting weights, and they're doing a great job.
They're
and we should
athletes,
be proud of all of them.
They take it seriously. And we're going to see how it works out tomorrow night. Fort Dodge is taking on Bettendorf tomorrow night in the quarterfinals of 5A. That game's 7 o'clock first pitch, 6:50 pregame show. You can hear it on Sunday 99.7 and yourfortdodge.com. We're going to have a preview story on that for you tomorrow on the news as well. And Mike will have it on the sports report here on his show tomorrow afternoon. We're going to hear some comments from Coach Adams going into the Bettendorf game. And look, Fort Dodge got to be ready to play tomorrow. I think their best is better than everybody else's, but they got to be ready and can't overlook Bettendorf, because Bettendorf beat number 1 Muscatine to get to the state tournament.
That's right.
Bettendorf's a solid team. It's interesting because it's a rematch from last year's state quarterfinals. Fort Dodge won that one 7-0. So we'll see if they can make it 2 in a row.
By the way, this is an open invitation to the coaches and the athletes who are here in town. Come on out here to the radio station. If you're from, I don't care where you're from, whatever town in Iowa you're from, you'd like to come out here, brag about your team, talk about your team's prospects, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're absolutely welcome.
For sure.
You're going to be a busy man this next week.
Yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy this week and have kind of started in on it already. Tracked the Newell Fonda game earlier. They actually opened the tournament in the first game of the tournament this morning, and Newell Fonda won 2-0 over 8 seed North Butler. Newell Fonda played mistake-free defense. They played small ball with the offense. They only got about 4 hits, but they scored twice. That was enough. They've got a really, really good freshman pitcher by the name of Kiara Jungers, who went the distance, allowed just 2 hits, and shut North Butler out. She's really good. I saw her against Fort Dodge earlier this year.
Yeah.
Fort Dodge beat them, but it took them about 5 innings to get to Jungers. I mean, she shut them out for about 5 innings. So she's really skilled there. Newell Fonda's going to move on to the state semis on Wednesday at 11 a.m., I believe. Let me see. Yeah, 11 a.m. They're going to take on 4 seed Southeast Warren. Southeast Warren beat Sigourney 9-6 this morning as well. And then the other half of the 1A bracket, 2 seed Wayne had a 3-0 win over Remsen St. Mary's. I actually ran into the Remsen St. Mary's team yesterday while I was out grocery shopping. They were here in town and got a chance. I spoke to them briefly.
They used to have a pretty good team. I don't know.
They're always good. I mean, they got beat today, but you make it to the state tournament, everybody's good. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, I know. Everybody's got the possibility. Fort Dodge is 35-4.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Newell Fonda is 36-4. They moved to that today with their win. So, yeah, 35-4 is a crazy record. I mean, there's some teams with some better records here and there. You look across the tournament, but like Fort Dodge's record's impressive because if you look up and down their schedule, they've played ranked team after ranked team. I mean, that the Fort Dodge Invitational softball tournament they had during the regular season, they played Newell Fonda, who's number 1 in 1A. They played Davenport Assumption, who's number 1 in 3A. They played Muscatine, who was number 1 in 5A for most of the year, between them and Fort Dodge. So, like, they've played a schedule unlike anybody else's. And the CIML, by the way, Mike, has 4 of the 8 teams in Class 5A in the state tournament. CIML representing once again, like it always does, from there. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how it works out. Fort Dodge will play tomorrow night at 7:00. We're going to have the game on Sunday 99.7.
What diamond are they on? Do you know?
They're going to be on the Kruger Seeds Field, which for you Fort Dodge fans, that's going to be the field you always play on. They just call it the Kruger Seeds Field.
That's a good name for it. That's a good
because
name. Thank you for sponsoring Kruger Seeds.
Yeah. And that's field number 1 there that Fort Dodge always plays on. And then field number 2 is the Iowa Central field for State Week, as Iowa Central always gets involved heavily with State. And shout out to Iowa Central, because one of the key linchpins to State being in this town is Iowa Central and the fact that they house a big number of the teams.
Shout out to Iowa Central, absolutely.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kruger Seeds. Shout out to Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. Ladies and gentlemen, without advertising dollars, frankly, we don't have Rob Jones on the radio. No, we cannot have that, ladies and gentlemen. You know it and I know it. So please patronize Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, Kruger Seeds, and any of the other fine sponsors.
That's how it works, man. You know,
that
if
is
you
how
like
it
the
works.
product that what we do and the product that we give you, like, patronize the sponsors. You go spend money anyway. You know what I mean? Most of this stuff is stuff you're going to spend money on anyway. So spend it with the people who are putting it back in your community, and spend it with us, and we all win, man.
Hey, I don't, listen, one of the biggest lies you'll ever hear is you get a better deal on a car or truck by going to Des Moines. Bull. You get down there and they'll kill you in the finance department, and I ain't kidding you. You ain't walking out of there unless they have a big profit. And once you're gone after you buy a car from Des Moines, they forgot who you are. Kemna, Fort Dodge Ford. I shop at Fort Dodge Ford, but I wouldn't turn my back on Kemna or Shimcat. They know who you are.
Right.
And Shimcats has got people for 3rd and 4th generations buying cars from.
Sure.
And so get that out of your head right now. Get that crazy idea out of your head.
The whole thing that you mentioned there, it's a numbers game, right? So you go to a place like Des Moines, you've got a big number of people, right? So if you say, well, no, I'm not doing this, like, you guys are not going to, bust me over the head, so to speak, on that percentage, and you walk off, well, you're just another person who walked off.
Right.
Like they've got a big number of people to pull from, right? Whereas here in a place like this, you know, that business is appreciated because, you know, it doesn't grow on trees in a smaller population.
No, that's right. But